Well, I'm having lunch with Navon. Mary's cleaning somebody's house and just called was our previous interruption. But Navon was telling me about an important decision that her grandma talked to her about making. So I thought she should share that with everybody. Let's see if she can remember what it was.
Well, I don't have a memory anymore, but I remember being able to sing. My dad played the saxophone in the band, and so lots of times he'd give me a come on up with him, and I would sing with the band. And then in high school, I was very popular with the music. I didn't play the piano very well. I couldn't maneuver those keys, but anyway, I sang with the band, and then I sang in the music in high school, and I took voice lessons for a small amount of time, but I realized that what I had was a natural gift, and so I didn't need to spoil it by taking a lesson. So I used to sing a lot with the band and through the church, and Star Valley was a very small place, so pretty soon you become very popular. And I had a lot of experiences about meeting people who thought I should go to college and get a degree and make my efforts in music instead of family, and I never really decided until I met Verl. He had already been married and divorced, and he was kind of trying to come back to real life, and we had a instant relationship, like we had known each other before in other places. So I told him he needed to put the gospel back in his life, whether he liked it or not. That was his salvation, and he tried. He worked hard to go back into the Mormonism, but he went me back into loving God, trusting God. And whenever there was an argument or a trial or tribulation, which we had a lot of, because I was strong in my attention, I knew exactly where and what and when and how, whether it was or not. Headstrong. And so whenever we would lock horns, which was quite a few times, he'd say, well, now let's look at this scientifically. Let's go through this and see which one of us is going to make this an argument or a family relationship. So we would talk stuff out, and I never liked the fact that Verl drank, and he didn't do a lot of it. But to me, any was too much. So we constantly had a fuss about drinking and playing. He played with an orchestra in Star Valley in the band, and he was a saxophone player, and he could do a very good job. But he knew from his life that mine could be messed up if I didn't make it what I wanted it to be. So he said to me, whenever you're angry, go outside and get yourself a rock and see what outside you can touch by throwing a rock. I spent a lot of time out throwing rocks because I was self-willed, self-determined, and knew exactly where, what, and how, and who, even when I didn't. Very headstrong. So one day I said to Earl, you need to go back to school and get yourself an education so you can make a decent living, because you're not a farmer. You don't like those cows, you don't like that work, and we're going to have a big family and you're not going to be able to afford it.
Well, you said the word family, and so I want to get back to your music and family.
Okay.
And you said you were talking to your grandma about a decision you needed to make.
Yeah. She said, what are you going to do with your life? And I don't have a clue. I know I want to follow God. That's about it. She said, well, you have a choice. You can either be a small town musician or a mother. You could try to do both. But you have to decide, where's your efforts going to go? And I couldn't. Music was always my best friend. Whenever I couldn't manage anything else, I could always sing. So I was in Logan High, and very popular was my music. But I had to make a decision. Do I want to pursue music for the rest of my life, or have a family? Because I knew from the way history was, you can't have both. My dad played the saxophone in the orchestra. He could have been a famous musician, but he couldn't. He had to settle himself into being a father and a homemaker and all the other things that are designed for men. So one day I was talking to myself in the backyard. Well, you've got to decide what you want to do, because you know you're self-willed, and whatever you want to do, you're going to get to do. Hell or high water. It's an understatement. So what do you want to do? Go famous and sing, or have a family and try to raise children, or where's your goal? Well, I fasted and prayed. And then I was very quite humbled to realize that the Lord wasn't coming to me immediately and telling me exactly what to do, when to do, and how to do it, because nothing was happening. So I went to him and I said, I realize I have to make a decision. Where's my goal? What do I want to do with my life? I knew my father played the saxophone, and so he knew music. I knew music. And I would sing with the band, and it made me very popular, and it was a glorious time to be popular. Wherever I went, people knew who I was. And being a little self-centered, that made me important. Gave me a lift of whatever. So one day I was saying to the Lord, what am I going to do? Because I was either going to go to college and continue my voice lessons, or give it up. Because the college was for lessons, and I wasn't very good with that wasn't my style to learn and to grow from things I learned. And that's an understatement, because I had a whole bunch of things I had to decide not to do. And one day I was fasting and praying about, I need to know where to put my focus. for my future. And I prayed about it. Didn't get any message, didn't get any word. So I made it a reality that every morning I would wake up, say to the Lord, where am I going from here? What do you want me to do? Because I was famous. I sang with the band and people knew me, and in Star Valley, everybody knew me. I was important because I was a singer in my dad's band. My father played the saxophone and we would practice at home, and music was becoming a very part of my life. And so I fasted and prayed. At that point, I'd never met anybody that interested me as far as sex was concerned. And I can't remember how old I was when I met Verl.
3.
How?
3.
3? But I know when I met Verl, he was the man that I was going to marry. Hell or high water. Because he'd been married before, hadn't been successful. He had a background all over the city of a man who was divorced, and then that was really a bad issue. People got divorced and it was never left. It was talked about. There was gossip, terrible, terrible gossip. Because my mother and my father got a divorce, and that's all I ever heard about for years was their divorce. My grandma was my staple. Whenever I ran amok, I didn't know where to go or what to do. And I didn't have my mother because of the divorce. So I had no one to talk to or ask about things. So I would talk to my grandma about things that were important to me then. And she said, above all other things that you want to do with your life, make sure who you get married to is who you want to spend the rest of your life with. Be sure that, ask for that in reality, and don't just think it's right because you feel sexy. So when I met Verl, he'd already been married and divorced. And I think I was a junior in high school, or senior, junior, because I didn't ever get finished. And I knew right away he was going to be the rest of my life. My parents threw a fit. Of course, they expected me to go to college. I was never medically or physically inclined to be smart. I had to be trained. Sometimes my instincts were good and sometimes they weren't. So when I met Verl, I knew this was the guy I was going to marry, regardless. Hell or high water, I was going to be him. And I said to him, well, we'll get married, but you've got to go to school. And I remember the look on his face. It was utter astonishment, and he said, you have got to be out of your mind.
Now, when you talk to your grandma about making the decision to sing and do music or be a mother, do you remember how she helped you make that decision?
No, what did she say? You tell me.
I don't know. That's why I'm having you talk to us.
Well, I know I sat down with her in a chair and I said, I've got to talk to you about a situation that's coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming. And I don't know how to make the decision. And she said, have you talked with the Lord? And I was kind of startled because I didn't think of pray. I was startled. And I said, heavens no. Why would I, how could I do that? He's in heaven, I'm on earth. And she said, no. What I mean is, have you prayed to God about this? I said, no, I haven't. At that point in my life, I really didn't care about God. He wasn't my focus. And she said, go talk to the Lord about this and ask Him to help you make a decision, because you're going to marry a man who's already divorced once. He is not educated, and his last name doesn't sound very good to me. So I went to the Lord and I said, well, what am I going to do? And the Lord said to me, your first mission in life is to have a family. How does that fit in your life? And that, of course, was the last thing I had ever come to, because I lived on a farm and we had cows giving birth all the time. And I was startled. How in the world am I going to put that first in my life when it's been my life? So when I saw Earl the next time, I said, what do you want to do with your life? What kind of a life are you going to have? And he said, well, my ancestors were gypsies, so I guess I'll just move around. And I said, well, if you have a large family, there's no way you're going to move around. And if I get married, I expect to have a large family. That's my purpose. Well, and I remember him saying, okay, I'll think about this. He took me to the house, gave me a kiss, and was gone. And he was gone for a while. Of course, I forgot all about it. I never went into it again. And I don't remember how much time passed until one day I saw him somewhere and he said, do you remember that thing you told me? I said, yep. He said, well, I made a decision. Oh. I had forgotten all about it. And he had spent some time worrying about it and wondering, what should I do? And he said, I decided that I need to go to school, get an education, so I can make a decent living. Because we're going to have a big family.
Well, you certainly did. Now, you made the comment that you were going to pray and ask Heavenly Father, should I be a mother or should I pursue music? And you said you didn't get an answer from your prayer. So, how did you decide, make your decision?
Well, I knew already. I sang with my dad's band in Star Valley. I was one of their regular singers. And I sang a lot in the church and in the school, and I was very popular for music. And of course, being a mother, that's the project. You don't, kind of stick stuff in between, but that's the deal. So I went to God and I said, what am I going to do? I know I have the voice. I know I can do it. I've done it. I'm doing it. What am I going to do? And I didn't get an answer right immediately, but circumstances began to change. On And all of a sudden, I wasn't in the same place that I thought I was. I was never good at school. And I was just a junior in high, and I wasn't good at school. But I was very popular because I could sing. And then one day I met Burl somewhere, and I can't remember what he said that helped me make the decision. But I then decided the best thing to do was to get married, have a family, and live a normal life.
Are you glad you did that?
Yes, I am.
Well, you said one thing, live a normal life. You feel you did?
We were always poor, and I hated that. I don't just hated it. I hated it because there were things that I wanted to do that cost money. And Burl wasn't a farmer. He didn't like to milk cows. He didn't want to shovel that shit and turn over those leaves and all that stuff. So one day I said to him, for me to continue my life and do what I want to do, it's going to cost money. And you don't have any. But worse than that, you're not ever going to have any because you don't want to farm. You're not a farmer. You're not a cow person. You don't like that farming. So, why don't we go to school?
Now, that is a story to be continued. Say goodbye.
Bye.